This is Lance Farsight from GreenMedInfo.com. Celeb Bono partners with Monsanto G8 to Biowreck Africa. An article written by Radhi Ananda for Food Freedom News. Last year at the G8 summit held at Camp David, President Obama met with private industry and African heads of state to launch the new Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition, a euphemism for monocultured genetically modified crops and toxic agrochemicals aimed at making poor farmers debt slaves to corporations while destroying the ecosphere for profit. And Bono of the rock group U2 is out shilling for Monsanto on this one. It's phase 2 of the Green Revolution. Tanzania, Ghana, and Ethiopia are the first to fall for the deception, with other African nations lining up for the Grow Africa partnership under Obama's Global Agricultural Development Plan. In Obama Pitches India Model of GM Genocide to Africa, Scott Crichton writes, "But African civil society wants no part of this latest Monsanto-aligned public-private partnership. Whatever will the progressives do now that their flawless hero has teamed up with their most hated nemesis to exploit an entire continent like they did to India not that long ago? With a commitment of $3 billion, Obama plans to partner up with mega multinationals like Monsanto, DuPont, Vodafone, Walmart, PepsiCo, and Prudential because, as one USAID representative says, there are things that only companies can do, like building silos for storage and developing seeds and fertilizers. Of course, that's an outrageous lie. Private citizens have been building their own silos for centuries, but it's true that only the Biowreck engineers will foist patented seeds and toxic chemicals on Africa." Crichton continues, Bono says that there has to be a public-private partnership in order to get this done, and that they're going to be using the ideas of the African people and farmers. Really? In response, African civil society organizations state the following: "We request that governments, FAO, the G8, the World Bank, and the GAFSP reconsider their promotion of the public-private partnerships, which, as they are now conceived, are not suitable instruments to support the family farms, which are the very basis of African food security and sovereignty." I wonder if that could be any clearer. They don't want the public-private partnerships involved in this process. It's not enough that huge megacorporations are bleeding the nations of Africa dry by sucking the valuable mineral resources out of their hills. No. As Bono says about the development in Africa, they are future consumers for the United States. The president is talking business. This is good. It's a whole new development paradigm today. The old donor-recipient relationship is over. Volatility chimed in, "The history of corporate agriculture and its green revolution is a perfect example of the unfulfilled promises and therefore proven lies of corporatism. What was the green revolution? With a huge one-off injection of fossil fuels, corporate agriculture temporarily increased yields within the monoculture framework. But in the Green Revolution," writes Volatility, "the soil is stripped of all nutrition and zombified by ever-increasing applications of synthetic fertilizer. Monoculture is ever more dependent on the increasing application of ever more toxic herbicides and pesticides. Deployment of GMOs escalates these vulnerabilities. Factory farms can exist only with ever-increasing use of antibiotics. All these systems are extremely tenuous, vulnerable, not robust, and not resilient. They're all guaranteed to collapse. Hermetic monoculture and industrial agriculture as such is one big hothouse flower which requires perfect conditions to survive. The Green Revolution was a scam to use cheap fossil fuels to increase monocrop yield, drive tens of millions off the land, and use the stolen land and food to render food temporarily, artificially cheap for Western consumerism. Like with Monsanto's Bt cotton deployed in India, at first, yields improved and farmers profited. Now, however, according to a leaked advisory from the Minister of Agriculture obtained by the Hindustan Times last month, cotton farmers are in a deep crisis since shifting to Bt cotton. In fact, cost of cotton cultivation has jumped due to rising costs of pesticides. Total Bt cotton production in the last 5 years has reduced. The advisory definitively links farmer suicides to debt enslavement enabled by the synthetic food model spawned by Monsanto, DuPont, and other ecocidal corporations. The spate of farmer suicides in 2011 to 2012 has been particularly severe among Bt cotton farmers. That's not all the harm wrought by the petrochemical synthetic industry. There are confirmed glyphosate-resistant weeds in the U.S. Over half of the United States is now plagued by agrochemically induced superweeds. An industry-sponsored study of pesticide use predicts that by 2016, nearly a billion pounds of these toxic chemicals will be poured on U.S. soils. Insects have also developed resistance. As reported last August, the western rootworm beetle, one of the most serious threats to corn, has developed resistance to Monsanto's Bt corn, and entire crops are being lost. In March, 24 corn etymologists warned regulators that the only way to defeat growing insect resistance to genetically modified corn is to plant non-GMO seed. Increasing pesticide use or buffer zone size will not solve the growing problem of rootworm resistance to corn genetically modified. But if that doesn't deter African farmers, these petrochemicals have also been linked to human birth defects, where Roundup Ready soy is being cultivated on a massive scale, reports Dr. McCullough. Widespread reports exist of immediate illness defects from massive glyphosate spraying operations. In fact, Monsanto, Philip Morris, and other U.S. tobacco giants knowingly poisoned Argentinian tobacco farmers with pesticides, reports Courthouse News Service. Also, dozens of workers claimed devastating birth defects in their children. The Bt toxin used to engineer cotton and corn also kills human kidney cells, reports Dr. Eva Siranathanji, and the drift from aerial application of Roundup prompted the Mississippi Rice Council to sound a national alarm over genetic damage to natural rice, calling for severely restricted aerial application. Newly emergent pathogens have appeared, reports Dr. Don M. Huber, a plant pathologist who coordinates the Emergent Diseases and Pathogens Committee of the American Phytopathological Society as part of the USDA National Plant Disease Recovery System. Last year, his team discovered a self-replicating microfungal virus-sized organism which may be causing spontaneous abortions in livestock, sudden death syndrome in Monsanto's Roundup Ready soy, and wilt in Monsanto's RR corn. Huber's warning to the USDA to halt GM crop approvals, and specifically genetically modified alfalfa, was not only ignored, but 2 months ago, AG Secretary Tom Vilsack hastened the approval process for genetically engineered crops. The new rules will cut the time needed to approve biotech crops in half, reports Dr. Mercola, from an average of 3 years to about 13 months for new versions of already existing crop technologies and about 16 months for brand new technologies. Obama's Global Agricultural Development Plan conspires with multinational corporations to foist these ecological and human health costs onto the public while siphoning the profits. As Crichton says, socialized costs, privatized profits, all in the name of doing good and saving the people of Africa. Let's hope these public-private partnerships are met with firm resistance by African farmers as supported by this declaration from a group of African civil society organizations. The last thing planet Earth and all its organisms need is more toxic industrial chemicals. Thanks for listening. This is Lance Farsight from GreenMedInfo.com, bringing you another informative article. Make sure to visit our website and subscribe to this channel to hear more and stay updated on your healthy lifestyle.